Now we got Tyrese. Tyrese, who we talked about last week, I believe. Didn't we talk about Tyrese last week?
It was something that popped up, but we went another direction. But he's
Oh,
been in the
that's right.
news
That's
though.
right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. So Tyrese has been talking a lot lately. And in this latest soundbite, he talked about his upbringing. Tyrese has had a rough go at it the last several years, losing members of his family, his mother, his sisters. Obviously, respectfully, condolences for all of that good stuff. But he's been doing the press junket recently. And one of the things that he talked about was some of the ways that his family tried to utilize certain resources in order to make ends meet, make money, in order to be able to continue to survive. So, in this particular instance, Tyrese talked about how his mother had him fake a disability in order to be able to bring money into the household. And this has some people talking. So this says Tyrese reveals faking disability as a child. Tyrese Gibson recently delved into his personal history during an interview with Gillie and Wallo, revealing the lengths his mother, Priscilla Murray Gibson, went to in order to support their family. He recounted a poignant story from his childhood where his mother allegedly had him feign a learning disability. This was reportedly to secure just under $800 from Social Security, which would help with the family's financial needs. Despite the gravity of the situation, Tyrese humorously labeled this moment as his first acting gig and acknowledged that Priscilla was his first director. The disclosure has stirred up discussions about the sacrifices his mother made, including the decision to have him fake a disability for financial aid and the impact of his grief on his life. While some are debating the choice of language used, Tyrese's reflection underscores the emotional weight of losing a loved one and its ongoing influence on him. So here is this particular bit here. So I may have to open up a different tab. Let's see.
Let's
My
see.
mama.
Okay, I won't have to open up a different tab.
Noise.
So here's Tyrese talking about how his mom had him fake a disability for money.
Made us go to a Social Security building and play retarded.
You get that
Get
check.
$780. Straight up. Government cheese, nigga.
Nigga, you been acting.
That was my first acting
Your
gig.
mom was your first director. She gave you your first movie gig. Your mom, first director. The nigga walked right in there.
That was my first motherfucking acting gig.
That was your first acting gig.
Hey man, they laughing off.
Your mom gave you.
Why you laughing so goddamn hard, man?
Hey,
Your
mom gave you first.
His face red over. He
Hey,
laughing
rest
off.
in peace to the legend. But your mom gave you
My
first
mama
acting
put me
gig.
on, nigga.
Yup.
Fuck you, mean? Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all what it was, though. The crazy shit.
All right, so respectfully, because Tyrese's mother did pass.
Mhm.
So respectfully, what do you think about this? This is an interesting subject. Um, obviously there's multiple angles to tackle it from, but
Mhm.
one can say she did what she had to do in order to support the family. One can also say that this isn't really the best look in the world, having your child fake a disability. So, what do you make of that?
It's a tough one, dude. And right on with that. Respecting his old girl. Rest in peace, right? But this is like you said, this is a little tough, because I don't necessarily care for it. I get it, but I don't care for it overall. He kept this close to the vest. He said it was the first time he told this story. Um, I believe it. He said she made his brother do it too for another 780 a month. Um, and his mindset at the time, he said he was 8 or something like that. And his mindset at the time was just getting a check for mama, helping out with the house. Yeah, we need this cash. What you mean? I can get more fruit roll ups? Hell yeah, let's do it. So I get that aspect of it. Not here to judge any of that. But to me, the overall thing about this that I do want to highlight is that it's not funny. Like none of it's funny to me. Uh, And the reasons why I don't find it funny is because that mental health in our community is it's a very interesting dynamic. I've known people who worked in the school system, and Black children being diagnosed with mental disorders and stuff, um, being basically put up to it by their parents is a thing. That's a thing that happens. So from people that's in the school system, and they can vouch for it, that Black mamas will come in here and say, test him again. No, see, he don't know it. Test him again. And and just trying to get whatever disability check on top of whatever other federal aid that can come about. So to me, this is in that same ilk. It's in that same department where parents exploiting their kids for federal checks. To me, man, it's not cool. But I'm pretty sure Tyrese, he can laugh about it now. I'm pretty sure he laughed about it then, and I'm pretty sure, man, when they had those checks coming in, everybody was all smiles. But I think that the overall discussion point of this should have been a little bit more serious. But what do you expect from Wallo and Gillie? And my concern about this clip is the dangerous rhetoric aspect of it, where there's going to be copycats.
Yes.
So, and not all parents are going to do what they did, what Tyrese mama did, and just say act the part. Some parents may even neglect their children to make that happen. And that's the stuff that I would hear from people who were in the school system, where they would pretty much hold their kid back so they can keep failing and so they can keep getting stuff. And, low key, some situations putting them on meds, just to keep the act going. So I think this is kind of dangerous. This is his life story. He came out on the other side, and that's good for him. And I'm sure there's other kids that went through this and they came out on the other side. That's great. But I would also argue that some people got lost in there, with people trying to game the system for financial aid in this department. So I don't think it's cool all the way. It is what it is with his life, but copycats beware. I don't think it's cool. But what are your thoughts, man, on Tyrese? Faking disability when he was a youngster to get government assistance. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so right out of the way, I'll just say that if this was a survival tactic, even though I don't agree with it, it's not my place to judge it negatively, because people got to do what they got to do to survive. So right away, I'm just going to say that. And I'm going to put that in a box and sit it over here. Now, the problem that I have with this is, and you touched on it because that's where I was going to go. You kind of danced around what I was going to say. But my problem with this, you said copycats. So right now, what we have going on, I would say, and this was with people, period. This is a class issue more than anything else. This is an economics thing. And right now, what we have going on, in my opinion, is that there's an entire trough of that 65 to 70% of this population, particularly in this country, who one would classify as working class, meaning you work for a living. You get up every day, you go to work, you collect a paycheck. People who work 9 to 5s, people who work 40 hours a week, people who, earn salaries so that they can get benefits, health insurance, so on and so forth. People who work office jobs, administrative assistant work. Maybe you work in marketing, maybe you work in journalism, maybe people who work for a living. That constitutes about 70% of the population. Right now, I would say that there's a decent amount of that 70% of the population that, due to the current economic climate, resort to scamming as a typical means of bringing in residual or supplementary income.
Mhm.
What that has done, in my opinion, is it has created an environment in which scamming is viewed as a logical progression for bringing in money. It isn't a last resort, as in the case of Tyrese's mother. So Tyrese's mother did it for survival. I believe people nowadays are scamming just to do it because people just genuinely are lazy, don't really want to work any harder, or don't really want to actually acquire any additional skill set or figure out a way to start a business or do anything of that nature. The degree of difficulty on that for a lot of people is a bit too high. So, how can I earn supplementary income to remain financially viable in this climate? I'm going to start scamming. I'm going to figure out the next system to game in order to make money. And I'll give you an example of one that I immediately think of, right? And it's a very simple one, but it's one that reminds me of this dynamic often. And I know people personally who do this. Obviously, I'm not going to mention names. But you look at people who game the handicap parking decal system.
Mhm.
I know several people, just letting you know, who figure out a way to finagle themselves into getting a handicap decal, not because they have a disability or because they're actually handicapped, but because they feel like due to their financial situation, they're entitled to something that they can game a system for because they deserve that. There's a sense of entitlement going on with people who embrace scamming nowadays.
Mhm.
So, like, handicap decals is one of those scamming acts where I don't care if I'm taking this spot away from somebody who might actually be disabled and need it.
Mhm.
I'm selfish and I don't care because this is what's owed to me because the world owes me this.
Mhm.
So I would imagine that you have a lot of people who are scamming whatever that I don't know what service or what thing that is where you report on a mental disability in order to receive a check from the government. I'm assuming that's a government thing. But
Mhm.
whatever that thing is, I would imagine that that is going on ad nauseum for a lot of people who are gaming the system, not necessarily because they need it to survive, but because they feel like the world owes them that. And I think that that's a dangerous line to walk when
Mhm.
you're not doing it for survival. You're doing it because you feel the world owes you something. That the world doesn't owe you anything. What you owe to yourself is the responsibility of doing what you need to do to get out of the hamster wheel, to get out of the rat race, instead of gaming systems because you feel like you're entitled to something that you're otherwise not entitled to.
Mhm.
And when you mention copycat, what it reminds me of is not necessarily Tyrese's mom specifically, but other people who are out here scamming on everything,
Yeah.
scamming social security numbers at
Yep.
medical offices,
Yep.
scamming handicap decals, scamming Netflix accounts, scamming whatever you can scam so that you can get out of paying for something, that you can get money that you don't deserve, so
Mhm.
that you can get something that you can bring in for yourself because you feel like the world owes you this because of where you are in your life. You have a lot of people walking around out here in life who are abjectly miserable with the trajectory of their life. And the way that they reconcile that trajectory is by stealing and scamming because they feel the world owes it to them. So again, I don't want to disparage people who are doing stuff like this because they needed to survive. But I do believe that there is a plentiful amount of people who don't need to do these things merely to survive. They're doing it because they're selfish and they feel as though the world owes them something. So they're going to scam away, steal away. Oh, I'll pay you. I'm going to walk into, a facility where they keep social security numbers on file. And maybe I can pay somebody to gain access to that information and then file tax returns so that I can get some money coming in. And that's just one example of some of the things that people do out here. Scam artists, cyber attacks, people stealing data. Why do you do that? For what reason? Like, you're scamming for what exactly? You don't need that to survive. You're doing it because you can game a particular system in order to steal something that otherwise doesn't belong to you. See, I in a weird way, and this will be the last thing that I say.
Mm.
There's a certain level of disdain that I have for thieves.
Yeah.
Like thieves to me are the lowest form of scum. Like even though I don't agree with it, I can entertain the logic of a drug dealer. I'll entertain the logic of somebody like that. I'll entertain the logic of somebody who did steroids. I'll entertain the logic of somebody who cheated on their SATs.
Oh,
I'll
totally.
entertain, yeah, I'll entertain that logic. I will. I'll entertain that logic. I'll entertain the logic of somebody who fibbed on a college entrance exam or an application.
Yeah.
But what I'm not going to entertain is the logic of someone who steals from another person. You didn't earn that, but you feel the world owes you something, so you're going to steal it anyway. Like I discuss that. I find that disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And people who do that to me are absolutely disgusting. And there's a special place in hell for people who scam. There is. There's a special place in Lucifer's domain for people who want to scam and steal from other individuals.
Yeah.
Steal from a bank, steal from Wall Street, steal from an institution. Don't steal my money. Don't steal from me. Don't take away resources that I am in need of because I'm actually a part of the group that's affected by what you're stealing from. So, that's where my mind goes with something like this. I feel like scamming has become,
Mm-hmm.
in and of itself, a profession for a lot of people.
Yes, it has.
The idea isn't what can I do to get out of the hamster wheel. The idea is what can I steal or scam so that I can get out of the hamster wheel. Or maybe I stay in the hamster wheel, but I steal and scam in order to supplement myself so that I can be out here getting to a bag, even though I'm not doing it legitimately. And maybe this is me engaging in righteous indignation. Maybe I'm being righteous. You can call me whatever you want. I really don't have people. I don't have an issue with people exploiting loopholes when it doesn't directly affect the next person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when it directly affects somebody tangibly, that's when I take issue with that. So that's where my mind went to with this. And for people who are doing it for the sake of survival, even though I don't agree with it, I can reconcile the idea behind it. But what I can't get behind is people who are filing to get this check and that check, not because they need it to survive, but because they're going to exploit that loophole because they just feel like they don't give a damn and the world owes them something.
Yeah, well said, man. And yeah, man, thieving, scamming, man, it's just I don't know where that came from, but that's like the new wave. So, and it's not all the way legit too. Geez, man, like whether they know it or not, even all this stuff digital, that's like a paper trail. So, I mean, I know they got their VPNs and they whatever, and all kinds of ways to rigmarole stuff, but scamming is just not the play. I don't know when that transition happened, but that seems to be the play of criminals at this point. They've taken it off the streets so much and went to just straight up scamming institutions and individuals.
Well, I think being a criminal nowadays is looked at the same as being a sex worker, which is what's the big deal, So yeah, I'm gonna pop box on OnlyFans and I'm gonna pop box, everywhere else, and who cares? Because being a sex worker is no big deal. I think criminal activity is largely viewed the same way. It's the world is rigged, and the world owes us this. So if I need to be a criminal to get over on that, who cares? It's not a big deal. So the stealing and all of that kind of stuff, I feel like that's where the mentality comes from.
Yeah, man. And also, at least in our music, I think it was like 2014, 15 up in that range where I'm starting to hear, it was like Migos and stuff, and they're talking about kicking in doors and stealing from, well-to-do people. And they're in Atlanta, so they're stealing from black people. And they're just kicking in doors and they're talking about it. Plies himself talking about running off from the plug twice. And my thing, and I wasn't, I'm no dealer. I don't deal in that realm or that world, but I was like, how low of integrity is that? Running off from the plug once is already egregious to me. But him sitting here flexing, talking about running from the plug twice. I'm like, what kind of it's similar to the way that it went from, oh, we're the drug dealers to now we're the drug users. So the same type of transition went from happening to like, hey, we're just drug dealing criminals to no, we're scamming each other, we're scamming everything, we're stealing from regular people. And it's like, hey man, what part of the game is this? So scamming became a thing. And now there's rappers who rap about scamming. So they'll rap about selling their bricks and also how they scam. And so it's become trendy. So that's why, the word copycat I use, but I'm sure there's people out there that's on hard times, that's gonna put Junior up to it now. And my concern was the parents that took it too far. And this is the last thing I'll say. And this is from people that I know from the school system that saw their kid, these kids in the school who aren't on the spectrum, but the parents are making it happen. They're pumping them with medication to sell it.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that's my problem with this stuff. So Tyrese talked about it in a way where I was like, oh yeah, I was on the spectrum and I'm saying, I had to finesse the game and we just cut the check. That's just one degree of it. These people keep coming back like social workers to keep testing the child. And the parents have to keep the act going. So I know for a fact that there has been a child who had a trajectory that was going normal and parents who wanted the check put their kids in a compromising situation and they didn't make it, and now who knows what their life is like now because they were hooked on psychotropics. And there's kids right now, adults right now, white, black, and everybody in between on TikTok and stuff like that were on psychotropics as a child, but they didn't need to be. So yeah, this is a fine line, man. And I get what you're saying as far as like, hey man, people do what they do when they in these situations. If you just did that and you got out of there fine, bro, I'm not here to judge those, but I will judge the people that are putting their children in highly compromised situations by enforcing this year after year. And yeah, man. So it's tough stuff, man. Sensitive topic, man. But so long, Tyrese seemed to have made it, right? He seems to be a normal guy now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing all right, man. But I got a thing with it. I got a thing for thieves, man. It just it grates me. It really does. Like, take from an institution, but you just gonna take from the next individual who needs it just as much, if not more, than you do, because of your selfishness and your entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, really bothers me. It really does. And I see it a lot. I see people just gaming and scamming whatever they can just to get a leg up and to get a head start on stuff that, it's like, what are you doing? Like, park the damn car and walk. Stop being lazy. You don't even need that decal. Like it's annoying, man. And I know like handicap decals is a drop in the bucket. It's not the most serious thing in the world, but still, it's like, why do you have to be a scam artist? Like, you're being a scam artist. You got two perfectly good legs. You're not handicapped, but you're just gonna game this system just because you feel like it. I just personally, I don't know. I just can't stand stuff like that.
Nah, and this is the last thing I say, man. Because if I was, handicapped and I saw an able-bodied person just hop in a whip, they ain't got nobody else with them, I'd be like, that's foul, bro. Because I had to find a way from another spot. You know what I'm saying? So, I felt some type of way about using the handicap bathroom at work. You know what I'm saying? But I knew there was no handicapped people on shift. So it was different. Like, if there's no handicapped people on shift, I'm going hog wild in there. All right. But when I was working at Walmart and people can go in there that are handicapped, I didn't go in those.
Right.
but
Yeah.
so much I would say. But hey,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
you know, it's a wild thing. But I hear what you're saying about that parking. It's wild
Yeah.
stuff.
I just think in general, people need to do a better job of taking inventory on how some of their decisions and actions may affect the next individual. And we don't do enough of that. We're just like selfish and we don't give a shit. We just don't care. We're just like, I don't care. I'm doing this because it's what I want for myself. And you know, the entitlement is a real, you know, it grates my nerves, you know, but it is what it is. Shouts out to everybody out there who's trying to make it and survive because this inflation is real. I get it, but you don't got to scam. Like there's other ways. You don't got to scam.
Muscle up, man. Muscle up.
Yeah.
Skrr.